Barry Bostwick, best known as playing Brad Majors in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, coming to Chicago for a very special screening of the film. Barry, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much for having me. Rocky Horror has been a very big part of my life for 49, it's our 49th year this year, and we're touring the country celebrating that with these wonderful shadow casts all over the country and some in Canada because we're hitting Canada too. And it's always exciting. Next year, 50th, you're not going to believe that, but 49th is three generations of fans who come to see this show, throw things, yell things, and just have the time of their life. And that's what I like. I throw a party every night that I do this. And I think people walk out at the end saying, wow, that was something I'll never forget.
I don't. I obviously never forget. Forgot the first time that I went to go see it at a midnight screening. That was the first time I went to the movies at midnight. Have been several times.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things that just lives with you, and you see so many people going to them time after time, and especially around this Halloween season.
I'm always interested in the stories that people tell me about their first time, because as you're
Oh.
saying, everybody remembers their first time, whether they had to stand up with a V on their virgin on their forehead and do some silly thing because of the master of ceremonies has this virgin ceremony, along with the costume contests and all of that other craziness that goes on. Um, and their stories are much more interesting than mine, I must say, because I don't even remember making this movie 49 years ago.
But you get to relive it every single year. You're going to be at the Broadway Playhouse on October 20th, 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about those moments, because I think like now something goes viral on social media. So you're saying we got to go to this restaurant, you got to see this movie, you got to go do this particular thing, and it becomes a phenomenon. When at point did you realize that this was more than just a film that was going to be in a theater in theaters 49 years ago, and that it was just going to live on in a way that really no one expected?
I think when it was at the 8th Street Playhouse in New York, and Sal Piro, who was part of the original audiences out there, stood up and sort of took control of the audience and and encouraged them to dress up, and then encouraged them to speak out and throw funny things at the screen. And that was in the mid like a couple years after it opened in the 70s. And Sal, who was really, I think, responsible for this whole lifetime of Rocky Horror Picture Show, because he eventually was very important in the marketing of Rocky Horror Show. I think he ended up becoming like an employee of Fox, and he had, websites and magazines and clubs and this and that. And now he has passed them. He's passed the torch to Larry Vizel, who's now the head of all of that. And he goes on tour with me, and he and I just have a ball opening up this movie with a shadow cast from all these different places that we visit. And he has a little museum of things from the original movie. So it's a whole experience, and you're allowed to be naughty but nice for one night again.
And speaking of naughty and nice, I just want to go through the list just for everybody who's watching. At the Broadway Playhouse, you can bring rubber gloves, noisemakers, glow sticks, confetti, toilet paper, bells, and keys. That's what's recommended. Do not bring any food items, no water pistols, no lighters or candles or open flames. So there's a little bit of guidelines of what maybe you might have been able to bring at other previous ones, and just to be conscious of that for this particular screening.
Thanks for saying that. But also the shadow casts that are going to be there, they sell these little prop bags with all of those things in it before you go in, and that's how they sort of make a living. And they are super fans who do this for nothing other than the love of Rocky Horror Picture Show. So if you can't assemble all of that stuff at home, just buy a little prop bag. I don't know, $5, $10 at the gate, and follow along and just have a ball.
Yeah, it's less stuff you have to bring from home, and you get to keep a piece of that show and that memory with you when you
Yeah.
bring it home from the event. So that's a wonderful thing. Thank you for sharing. Speaking of super fans, tattoos, costumes, tell me about some of the outrageous things that you've seen, over the years.
Oh boy. I've seen people who have all of the cast members' signatures on their arm tattooed all the way down their arm, and I've seen some amazing tattoos of Tim Curry and all these people's faces on thighs and other parts of the body that I probably should never have looked at.
Yeah, because people,
They
they
showed
want
it to me.
and people want to show you, especially, because we got a chance to chat last year at Fan Expo Chicago when you were in town, and you and Susan Sarandon teamed up, and I believe that was the first time you had seen her in quite some time.
A lot of years, yeah. And so because she's doing conventions now and she's enjoying it, and so we, reminisce when we do these conventions occasionally, and um, I think she remembers more of it than I do. Thank God somebody does.
What was it like to connect with her in Chicago and especially be there, with all the fans? Because, people have seen, one of the two of you, but this was, I think, I believe the first time in Chicago where the two of you were together.
Yeah, yeah. And we were in London a couple of months ago, and Peter Hinwood, who played Rocky, it was his first convention, and that was so great because we had Peter, Susan, myself, little Nell, Patricia, and we sat and had a wonderful conversation with the audience in London.
That is amazing. I want to talk a little bit about um, the multi-generational. We talked about three generations of fans, and obviously there's the people that grew up with it, other ones that maybe their cousins, their older brothers, people in high school had seen it, and this was like the kind of a rite of passage, and then
Yeah.
their kids, and then talk a little bit about maybe witnessing that from your perspective of seeing this film and this phenomenon being passed on.
Well, you know what? I'm always amazed that somebody, a young person, teenager now, would want to go see something that their grandfather or grandmother enjoyed. Usually there's such a split generationally, and whatever my dad liked, well, damn it, I'm not gonna like it. But it it
Mm,
it's just it's crossed this social
mm.
barrier that I don't understand, other than the fact that maybe that they were introduced to it by a parent or a grandparent because they were snuck into the theater under age of 18, and they had somebody there saying, "Oh, no, 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 our son's 18." Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, you can go in, but actually they were 12.
You want to have different, styles of music, styles of clothing, things that you're interested in, and then your parents. But this is one of those things that lived on. And I think, personally, I think, whether you're gay or straight, whether you have a big social network or not a, big social friend group, you always felt like a place of belonging. That like that's what this film did. That's what these screenings do. Is that you always feel like I have a place here, and that you may not always find that in other parts of like school or work or your neighborhood,
Right.
but this was that place that you could just authentically be yourself no matter what that would be.
Well said. Well said. That's what I try to bring across when I talk to an audience, and it's that authenticity of exploration of self. That you witness something you've never seen before, but you know that it's fantasy, but you know that there's something behind it that is perhaps life changing,
Yeah.
because you're witnessing something that's fun and accepting the people around you and accepting our differences.
Hmm.
Don't get strung out by the way I look. Don't judge a book by its cover. That's what Frankenfurter says in this thing. And it's sort of the mantra, besides "Don't dream it, be it," of the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah. No, definitely. Those are two things that keep getting quoted year after year and time after time, and they just resonate with so many people. A Tim Curry memory that you remember about as far as like his character, it's so iconic, but part of the filming and what do kind of remember the most about that time
With Tim,
with him?
well,
Yeah.
Tim was such a gentleman and such a great actor. You would think, well, he's just outrageous all the time, and everybody was just crazy.
Hmm.
But we made this movie in
Hmm.
5 weeks, and there wasn't time to be outrageous and crazy other than when the film we were filming it. So Tim was very conscious of our relation, all of it, everybody's relationship, and to keep it all moving forward and keeping it fun. And unfortunately, the one song I had with him in the background once in a while was cut from the movie um, because it was the wrong song. It was a good song, but it was the wrong song at the wrong time for the thrust and the style, not the style, but the thrust and the energy of where Rocky Horror Picture Show was going in the story. Um, but I'll always remember the moments previous to that when I had to sing that song where was on top of me.
Speaking of songs, I was a wedding DJ for a couple of years right out of college. Time Warp was one of those songs that everybody wanted to hear. It brought everybody out onto the dance floor. Kind of, you close your eyes, you hear those notes of the songs. What's kind of that feeling that Barry gets?
Oh yeah. Well, everybody, as you witnessed, everybody does the time warp at
Yeah.
every wedding these days. It used to be the Macarena, but now it's the time warp. Um, and that was a great moment for me to witness because I never did it in the movie. Susan and I walked in on this party that they were doing this time warp, and it was a great introduction to the universe of Rocky Horror Picture Show with all of these aliens, doing this dance. Um, I didn't realize till years later that they were actually aliens. They weren't, they came from transsexual Transylvania, and were there just to have a party, and hosted by whoever, Frankenfurter, who was quite a twisted human being. Well, no, not a human being, an alien trying to be a human being.
Well, you're going to bring the party here to Chicago, October 20th, Broadway Playhouse. It's the 49th anniversary of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. BroadwayChicago.com for those tickets. Go check them out. You can get all the things you want to bring for the show at the show. So go ahead, support those artists as well too. Cannot wait to talk to you next year for the big 50th anniversary. And Barry,
Oh, that'd be great.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. And we have these meet and greets beforehand. And this is the first year that if you get a meet and greet, you get to sit in the first and second row and get pelted with toilet paper, about halfway through the show. So come down, say hello, and leave your troubles behind you.
Wonderful. Barry, you're the best. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Good to see you again.
You too. Thank you so much.